welcome to Good Deeds, your Norfolk County Registry of Deeds. I'm Mark Crosby of Quincy Access Television, so glad that you decided to join us. Good Deeds, today's program specifically, is an update program. We take quarterly updates. We are now in the third quarter, so we're going to actually get third quarter results in from the Register of Deeds. That would be Bill O'Donnell. We are technically into the fourth quarter, correct?
Yes, and again, thanks for having me, and certainly thanks to QATV. Yes, we try to do this show not only to provide statistics, but some of the consumer issues that all consumers, that have property or are thinking about having property should be aware of. And when you look at what's going on in the economy, I think people know things aren't great. And, buyers have been facing rising prices and rising interest rates, and home sales in Massachusetts have plummeted nearly 25% from January to August of 2023. Now, we're going to look at Norfolk County. There's 28 communities that make up Norfolk County, and we're going to look at, July, August, and September of 22 versus 23. And luckily, Norfolk County has beat that kind of dismal state number over the third quarter, but it still is indicative that the economy isn't great. For instance, total deeds in 2022 and during that 3-month period was 4,642, and it's 4,001 in 2023, down 641 deeds or 14%. So it wasn't the 25. We have a 25% reduction in home sales statewide, but Norfolk County, it was only down 14%. But again, it's reflective on total document volume at the Norfolk Registry of Deeds. Again, in 2022, 32,496 documents were recorded, through July, August, September of 2022, and in 2023, 26,287. That's over 6,000 documents down. That's a 19% decrease. So why would I think home buyers and home purchases? It's a more complicated process. It's more expensive for home buyers. I feel sorry for the first-time home buyers because prices are still high because you have multiple people competing for a limited inventory. So there's less for sale out there. So these shrinking inventories. Especially single-family houses are causing problems for buyers, and the interest rates are high. Rates used to be in the 2%, 3%. Now it's 6%, 7%. And when you think about it, a lot of sellers might not be selling their property because if they are selling their property, they have to buy a property, and they're saying, why should I be paying 7% to move into a new piece of property? So they might be sitting tight. So all these factors are coming together and is reflective in the numbers, not just in Norfolk County, but statewide in Massachusetts. A big part of our document volume is mortgages. People borrow money. They borrow money for home sales, and we already seen home sales are down. So clearly mortgages are going to be down. But mortgages are down because refinancing. People aren't refinancing when it's a 6 or 7% rate, especially when in 2020, 2021, even into 2022, the rates were a lot lower than they were now. So, that has really dried up the mortgage recordings at the Registry of Deeds. In 2022, again, July, August, and September, mortgages, there were 5,567 mortgages recorded. In 2023, over that same 3-month period, 3,860. That's over 1,700 mortgages that haven't been recorded at the Norfolk Registry of Deeds from year to year, or down 31%. So clearly, we're seeing struggles, in numbers. And I always like to point out, and don't like to point it out, because people are still struggling with foreclosures. We've seen foreclosure deeds recorded at the Norfolk Registry of Deeds. And we also see notices to foreclose, which is the first step in the foreclosure process. By law, people that are getting foreclosed on, the lender has to file an action in court. And the court, there's a requirement that the notice to foreclose gets recorded at the Registry of Deeds. So we don't have anything to do with what goes on in court. But, you know, when there were past crises, say in 2007, 2008, the Norfolk Registry of Deeds, we partnered up with nonprofit groups, and we still have that partnership. Here we are all these years later, and we're kind of repeating some of the issues that took place in that recession. So I always tell people, if you're struggling with foreclosures, and we have 28 communities here in Norfolk County, but across Massachusetts, reach out to these groups because they can help you, and they're nonprofit. We have the NeighborWorks Housing Solutions. Right here, we have the Quincy Community Action Program, and just because it has the Quincy in the name, they have committed to helping people throughout the county, throughout the 28 communities. And there's also resources available at the Attorney General's office of Massachusetts. So I always say, if you're struggling, if you have gotten a notice, or even before you got the notice that things aren't going well, reach out to these nonprofit groups. First of all, if you are going through the foreclosure process, it's a legal process, so they can give you some legal guidance. But also they give you some real educational guidance as far as how you're handling your credit cards, or how you're handling certain debts. And again, some of it is just, you know, a bad fortune, you know, a bad sickness or a bad health situation, but get the help that you get. So we do see people struggling with foreclosure, and so that puts the face on some of these, you know, relatively negative numbers than, say, past years.
And I think the last time the federal government met, they didn't affect the interest rate, but there is the thought that in the near future they will.
Yes, they did take a pause, and you know, but the pause is still meaning interest rates are 6 to 7%, and we see, you know, people getting adjustable rates, you know, at 6%, adjustable rates. Now, some people don't remember. I remember, and I'm dating myself. Our first home, you know, a condo purchase. That's all you could afford. I remember our adjustable rate was 8%. You know, but other people were telling me back then, well, you're lucky. I had interest rates at 19%. People, you know, so but the interest rates are high right now relative to where they were not that long ago, and it certainly is affecting the economy. And yes, they may have taken a pause, but some of the people that speculate, some of the economists, that the rates, you know, still may have to bump up a little. But you know, there was a pause, but that pause still means we are in an interest rate environment that doesn't necessarily mean that leads to people borrowing money, because the mortgage rates are so high. Doesn't mean people are going to buy houses. People will still buy houses, but it's more of a struggle, because now you're paying 6%, 7%, and that makes it difficult.
And I guess the inventory does too, although there's a lot of building going on, certainly in the city of Quincy and neighboring communities, Braintree, Weymouth. And I believe, probably, is this the same case throughout the county?
Yeah, you see it with some zoning proposals. I think that there is, you know, they're trying to address that shrinking inventory issue. But
is it shrinking inventory, or is it that there aren't enough affordable houses?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of both. I think the inventory is down, which means, you know, even people that are looking for houses right now, anecdotally, we talk to brokers, there's still multiple offers on properties. But there are efforts to get more housing. But I think it's also a function of demand. I believe areas in Norfolk County, whether it's Quincy, Brookline, Needham, all our communities, I think they're desirable places to live, and therefore people want to live there. So the demand is sort of outstripping what's around and available for people to buy. So it's a regional problem. It's probably a state problem. It's probably a national problem in some respects. But clearly, at least in Massachusetts, there are housing economics that lead to, you know, what's going on now.
a desirable place to live. Massachusetts certainly is. In the newspaper recently, I know that this is not part of Norfolk County, but do you remember Gavin MacLeod from the Love Boat, the captain?
Yes, the Love Boat, yes.
He and his wife had a cottage, or had a home in Eastham. So there again, a Hollywood star, right, decided to also be at least a part-time resident of Massachusetts.
Oh, and again, Massachusetts is a great place to live, great place to work. I've been a lifelong resident, and just within Norfolk County, the 28 communities, there's not that long ago, Norfolk County was rated by an organization as one of the best counties to live in. So there's a lot of benefits to living in the greater Boston area. A tank full of gas, as you say, you're down the beautiful beaches of Cape Cod, or up looking at the leaves in New Hampshire, or going hiking up in Maine. So we're very fortunate. But in having those attractions, if I think a lot of people want to live here, and that's where you have a demand that hasn't been met by the supply, that's for sure.
You mentioned a tank of gas, and that is also going up. Inflation is still an issue as well.
Yes, and it remains to be seen. So a lot of what we see locally is really an outgrowth of what's going on nationally. And so we just report the numbers, but hopefully things will improve. And, these documents get recorded. I feel like I should bring up some of the modernization initiatives at the Registry of Deeds. Over time, believe me, it was a paper-driven business, and there was state and federal laws that said that the registries could electronically record documents. Because when I first started, people had to deliver the documents physically, and still can. You're still welcome to come by 649 High Street. In fact, I just left the registry, and there were attorneys there. As they said, we do it the old-fashioned way. They're there in person recording the documents. But state and federal laws and regulations allowed the registry to record these documents electronically. So whether you're out in Bellingham or Cohasset or anywhere in the county, or someone could be doing a transaction that affects Norfolk County property, but they're doing it out in, Springfield, Massachusetts, or Shirley, Massachusetts, those attorneys can send the documents in electronically. We started this in 2009 on the recorded land side, which is probably in Norfolk County, 80% of the land is recorded land. And I wanted to bring the statistics about in September. Now, 75% of our documents are being recorded electronically on the recorded land side. So people have embraced it. I think the attorneys, the lenders, it just makes things more efficient. And again, we're trying to, we try to run the registry like a business, and also try to help our registry users and stakeholders and allow them to do what they need to do when they're buying and selling a property, making sure the property gets recorded, making sure mortgages get recorded, making sure when properties are paid off, those discharges get recorded. So we're we have tried to modernize the registry, and electronic recording is one of the ways we did it. And sometimes it takes a change in statute. In 2016, 2017, a number of the registers, we went to the state legislature, and we thank our state legislators, and at the time it was the governor. And they signed a law that allowed us to do electronic recording on the land court side. And now in Norfolk County, the land court or registered land side is about 20% of the document volume. And Norfolk County was the first registry, after that legislation had passed, to record a land court document. Again, we're trying to be, we've always, at the Norfolk Registry, tried to be at the cutting edge and try to be a very modern registry, even though our documents date back to 1793. And the land court document volume is now, that's a pretty tough regulations there, because the land court sets certain rules. And when I was a practicing attorney, you went in, and when you were recorded, you were holding your breath, because it's a very enhanced way to record. But now 70% of it comes over electronically, and a lot of people who now say, especially the lawyers, well, we kind of like doing it electronically because if something's wrong, you send it back to us immediately, and we're at our office and we can straighten things out. So it shows how these modernization initiatives have tried to help what's going on with people in the day-to-day lives of our modern society. Another part of modern society is scams, and I also would put a plug in. Norfolk County was one of the first registries to do a consumer notification service. It's an anti-fraud property program, and we did it because the FBI is saying the fastest growing property and mortgage fraud, property and mortgage scams is one of the fastest growing white-collar crimes. So if you go to the Norfolk County website, you can sign up for a consumer notification where you get an email notice if some name gets recorded in your name. I sign up as William. I'm William P. O'Donnell. I get notices for William James O'Donnell, William T. O'Donnell. I just check it out. It has nothing to do with me, but there may be some time where that William O'Donnell document I look and say, hey, that's my deed. I didn't sign it. My wife didn't sign it. Or hey, that's a mortgage on my property. Neither one of us have signed it. We didn't prevent the fraud, but now we can get on it right away. And we have links to the law enforcement agencies where you can not only get on it with the law enforcement agencies, but you may have to, get a civil attorney to help, correct the fraud that's going on. The good news, however, in Massachusetts, a fraudulent deed does not legally convey property, but it certainly, you can imagine, will cause some headaches.
And basically what this service does is really to flag any issue.
Yes, I'm always very clear. We're not preventing the fraud. We would love to prevent the fraud, but it's just a small way that an arm of government, many people don't know about the Registry of Deeds, is trying to be relevant to people. It's a way to get notified. We haven't prevented the fraud, but you can get on it right away. And I think it's good because, I think when my parents bought property, no one checked title. The next time there was any involvement in title was when my dad signed, sold the homestead, and was there, a long, long time. But now, in this day and age, with cybersecurity risks and bad actors and people that really try to take advantage of others, I think this service is just a good way, as you say, to flag a problem. And hopefully it will never come about, but it's there for people that want to take advantage of it.
You had mentioned just a few sentences back about legislation, and I know that the last time you and I had met, there was some current legislation on Beacon Hill. Is that still the case?
Yes, there was a hearing. There was a bill where, again, we're trying to make the recorded land side the same as the land court side, where if your mortgage got assigned, then the assignment would get recorded at the registry on residential property. The only reason we're doing that is we have more and more people who are taking advantage of our website. Our documents are back to 1793. A lot of my colleagues, other registries in Massachusetts, there's 21 of them. People are computer literate and can look up their properties. And by having a bill that requires assigned mortgages to be recorded, someone can see, oh yeah, my mortgage got assigned. Because a lot of times you're paying somebody and you're not necessarily sure who actually has the mortgage. And we see it more when people are trying to locate or try to, hey, I need a mortgage discharge. I thought this thing, it was paid off, but evidently the mortgage discharge that told the world it was paid off isn't there. And now it makes it hard for those people because, they see, say, a bank that they originally had their mortgage with, but they don't know who to go after legally through, and if the assignments were recorded, you could see who legally had that property. And I think it's a good consumer bill, and I think it makes it, I think it helps the consumer. And again, it's sometimes tough to get things through the state legislature. We appreciate I mentioned the electronic recording. If we didn't get that through the legislature, there wouldn't be electronic recording of land court documents at the registry. So things do matter that get through the State House.
And we should mention that the Homestead Act, that was legislation that got through and became law.
Yes, and people don't realize the homestead has been around a long time. The homestead is a right given to you by the state legislature that says that if you own your principal property, you could put a homestead on and gives you certain protections, mainly that they can't force a sale of your home should you get, have, some issues like a car accident and there's debts and things of that sort. And the state legislature should be thanked because, they've expanded, certain rights. I know when I first started as register, the amount was $300,000. It's now $500,000. They put in place legislation that says if there's language in a mortgage that kills your homestead, that language doesn't kill your homestead anymore. So a lot of things, a lot of laws that get passed, many people may not know about them, but the state legislators do a nice job of assessing the issues, and it's really important that some of these laws get passed because it does affect, especially in the real estate area, consumers. And I think we should all be helping the consumers out.
You and I sat down and talked for a half an hour about genealogy and how it relates to the Registry of Deeds. Recently, you had an article in the newspaper regarding finding your roots.
And a lot of this has come out of, we did a program or a project, History Comes Alive, at the Norfolk Registry of Deeds. And it started because, we got everything online back to 1793, which was an accomplishment. But as I'm going through the documents from 1793 to 1900, all those documents were handwritten. So our History Comes Alive project was actually a transcription project. We transcribed into readable printed text over 450,000 documents. And out of that project, so many things have happened because a lot of historical societies and commissions have had us out to speak, had us out to educate themselves about how to use the research system, because people are really into genealogy and historical research. And you could look up, there's 4 presidents born in the United States. You can look up the actual deed from the 2nd United States president, John Adams, to the 6th United States president, John Quincy Adams. You can get information. They have lists of what were in some of these houses in 1700s and the 1800s. So there's a lot of information there. And what we've done in that article, Finding Your Roots, was to sort of announce we're starting a genealogy research center at the Norfolk Registry of Deeds at 649 High Street, where you can come in. We have, over 50 computers sprinkled around, but we've designated some in this area. So people, we've linked up with Ancestry.com, and we have available other, resources if people want to do research. And the beauty of doing it there is if you want to look up some deeds and things, you can go to our website to look up some of the information that you might be looking for as far as deeds that go back to 1793. I would like to put a plug in, though, and again, we're so proud of this History Comes Alive, the transcription project, because we were the first registry in New England to actually transcribe documents, and some say we're one of the first in America. And out of that project, I Love History, we did a notable land records book in 2018 for the 225th anniversary of Norfolk County and the Norfolk County Registry of Deeds. We had our building, which was built in 1903, was renovated, and brought out a lot of the history in the building. When there was the dedication in 2019, we did another notable lands records book. There was a community that had an anniversary, the 150th anniversary, and we did one for that. But one of the projects that we started before COVID and is just finishing up, because COVID took a lot of our energies to just manage and get through COVID. But we have a book, and I'd like to, it's called We Remember Our Veterans. And we should always remember our veterans. This book is actually, dedicated to all veterans, past, present, and future, for their patriotism and sacrifices for the United States of America. And what we've done in the 28 communities in Norfolk County, we've picked a number of veterans out. We've tied it to some of the land records that we found. We've done a history. There's 4 presidents born in the United States. Well, they're not only presidents, they were commanders-in-chief. And so we have some of the history of what those commanders-in-chief did. And we have a history of the branches.
Born in the county.
4 United States presidents, yes, that were born in the county. So there's a lot of remembrances. And on November 8th, Wednesday, November 8th, 2023, we are having an open house at the Norfolk Registry of Deeds from 4:30 to 6:30. It's open to the public. You're welcome to come. November 8th, from 4:30 to 6:30, it's an open house. And some of the storyboards that we have in here of everyone around the county, also Medal of Honor winners that were around Norfolk County. We will have storyboards that are comprised of the books and the pages in the books. The Norfolk County Sheriff, Pat McDermott, has offered his Norfolk County Sheriff's color guard. There'll be a posting, a little ceremony, but you can walk around to look at the storyboards. And anyone that comes here, will get this book. It's quite a book. Again, I know QATV does the filming here. I'd be remiss. There was the commander of the Joint Chiefs, who was a U.S. Marine, General Joe Dunford. We have a storyboard there. A past person, great guy, Bob Noble, who fought in World War II, prisoner of war. So we've tried to put some stories in that really reflect the stories of all veterans. So if you could, come on by Wednesday, November 8th, 2023. It's coming up between 4:30 and 6:30. Come by. It's an open house, and this book will be available as well.
Always a great job. Any of the literature that does come out of the Norfolk County Registry of Deeds, these booklets are filled with information. This particular booklet I will take a look at, but the fact that you have done one on veterans is really important.
Well, we all know someone that's a veteran. We got to thank the service. My son, is in Coast Guard, and you just got to appreciate what they do and have done. So this is the veterans, past, present, and future, was the dedication for all they do for the United States of America.
And just, again, to all veterans, thank you for your service. As we close this particular program, a teaser. You and I were in Norfolk County. We were in a specific town that was actually, which had and still has, the first lending library. Should we leave it there? Should it be a teaser?
It could be a teaser, but yes, you learn a lot of things, and it's
first lending library in the country, I should say.
Yes, it's the rock outside it says it's the first public library in the United States of America, and it ties to a donation that Ben Franklin made of 116 books, and again, I appreciate your efforts and the efforts of all the staff here at QATV, because this is an outgrowth of that History Comes Alive, that we got a call, hey, can you come? We've seen some of your other projects that are going on with history. Can you come down? And it was an amazing experience. And within the 28 communities, I'm sure all the communities in Massachusetts, there are hidden gems that you walk in and you say, wow. So when this finally gets done, it'll be another hopefully learning experience for people. But there's a lot of history around Norfolk County, and we're trying to bring that out.
Great teaser. I can't wait to see the movie. Thanks, Register O'Donnell, for coming in today and providing this update and some general information about what's happening at the Registry of Deeds.
Well, thanks for having me. As always, it's a privilege to be the Norfolk Register of Deeds, but it's just great having shows like this to just get information out so that people learn a little bit about probably an area of government that deals with the biggest asset we have, our homes.
Thank you at home for watching. We thank the communities that air this particular program. And please remember to support the local access station in the community, in the city or town in which you reside.